Lee,
Present.
Catherine,
Present.
Igor,
Present.
Scott, absent, Christina, absent, Margaret,
Present.
and Bonnie.
Present. Okay, now we have, let's see, there's a spot here for,
To make a motion that we bring Mr. Massandito up. He's so inclined.
How long will you practice that one?
well, actually,
Has he been sworn in?
no, when actually we need to make him an alternate.
Right.
Yeah, we need to decide, do we need to advertise? There is a blanket advertising on the website. Anybody interested in being an alternate, contact us with no deadline, you know, just a generic one. If you're interested in being an alternate, contact us. So I don't know that we have to do another whole notice. And he didn't know it polls, and so if somebody wants to make a motion.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to appoint him as a board member or an alternate,
As an alternate.
as an alternate. Okay. We don't have a vacancy on the
We
board,
don't
no,
have a
we don't have a vacancy on the board. Okay, as an alternate. Want to take a vote?
Lee,
Yes.
Catherine.
Yes.
Igor.
Yes.
Margaret. Yes. And Bonnie.
Yes. All right, and we have the paperwork here. We have the paperwork for those that, we have three? Oh, good. So, Catherine Cadero, I can't see that.
That's right.
Am I saying it right? Oh, good. Igor, Billy, and, Jerry, we have to, make up this paperwork and
We
give
have
it
to
to.
sign that.
Sign it.
Is Judy still in office?
Oh,
Okay, so we have to sign these,
And then you need to go and be sworn in.
I already was sworn in.
I already did, I
Okay.
just
good.
did
All right.
before the meeting, so.
sign your appointed sheet of paper, and we'll get them to Judy, and then you'll really be official.
This is Jerry.
Oh, she loves swearing.
You send this around.
All right.
So we have to each sign.
Do you want us to sign it even though we're
Yeah,
not
yeah.
standing before Judy? Because it says before.
So each of us need,
We need to sign the top part.
Okay.
each of us
Yeah.
needs to sign the top part,
Each of-
except for the one that's got your name on it. Don't sign. the one
Okay,
that's
don't
got
sign
yours.
one with my name. So I gave away the ones that I.
Okay,
so
Well,
Okay, so that's
So
weird.
you don't sign.
Yeah, it
Don't
is,
sign
but
that.
that's the
I
form.
wanna
he
sign
gives
that
us.
top line.
So we
All right.
sign one for each other,
We
but not the
sign-
ones with our name on.
Correct.
Okay, that's what we're doing. All right, there's that.
That one I don't sign. This one's gonna go this way.
More people.
Um,
This one have to go this way?
No,
This one has to go this way.
Okay, now we've got back there.
This one.
I signed that.
You don't have to sign any of them.
I can't tell
Not
if
yet.
one of those.
You
Not
don't have
until
to.
you officially
I
appoint it.
signed
It's an alternate.
before
No,
this,
it's-
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah.
I'm
All
not
right.
signing
So
mine.
we're good.
We're all good.
I need to sign the other two.
Yeah, there's
There,
a.
let's sign these all over the
Sign
line.
all over.
Like little six signatures.
More paperwork. Now we need an election of officers and alternates. Anybody?
I'd like to nominate Bonnie as chair, Margaret as vice chair.
Okay,
I
any other?
second that.
Okay, thank you. Any other nominations? All right, let's hear the vote.
Lee,
Yes.
Catherine.
Yes.
Scott. Sorry, Igor,
Yes,
Jerry.
Um,
No, not you. Margaret. and Bonnie.
11 years. Okay. The race goes on and everyone's looking for big wins.
myself. Thank you. Or if you want me to abstain.
No, I.
Thank you for your vote of confidence.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
very much. Approval of the minutes, March 11th,
Motion to accept as written.
second,
second. Any corrections, errors, or omissions? You want to give a vote on that one, Lou?
Lee,
Yes.
Catherine.
Yes,
Igor.
Yes,
Bill, question.
no, because you haven't missed one.
Okay,
We
so
can
he-
catch this.
Let's
No,
wait.
it's-
Let's wait on him, yeah,
Margaret.
Yes.
and Bonnie.
yes. All right. Report of officers and committees. Report of tax filings, April 15th is, the date when you, file for, intent of, let's read the exact title. I've got them all here, there was 3 that filed. Report of excavation, material, notice of intent to excavate. If you intend to excavate, you have to file on, by or on April 15th. We got 3. The 3 Rex Calder properties. We did not get one from Tom's, but we got those 3. And, the town has asked us, you know, if we have any input or comment or, did, everybody saw the email from Judy?
Yes.
My comment on that is that, that's an alteration of terrain by the selectmen's vote.
Mhm.
It's not a subdivision, it's not a pit, it's not a. So that's where I am with that. The other 2 filings look to be complete.
Okay.
Yeah, the change of use document.
Yeah, that was the one that had all of the different stuff, I mean, but it's.
Yeah.
It's, we've
Yeah,
already
change of use.
confirmed that
Yeah.
it's an
So then it-
alteration of terrain, it's.
Right, so then it's incidental
Right.
excavation, so there doesn't, nothing that we can do with it
He's
anyway.
filed so he can pay the DRA.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, do we have, do we have any responsibility or to, look at it and make any comment or thoughts as to whether we feel it's realistic or accurate or, do we? I don't know. That it reflects, the areas specified in the earth excavation permits.
Everything looked in order.
Yeah, looked in order, I mean, the acreage, the filing,
Yeah,
Okay, the only thought I have is the Divine Pit. Has until May 23rd to be reclaimed. And no reclamation has been done at this point. At all, none, because, no building construction started or whatever. The original thought was the reclamation is going to be the project. And absolutely nothing's happened on the project. So there has been no reclamation. The period to reclaim expires on May 23rd. And are we okay with just saying, well, it's gonna happen when the project finally gets built, or do we say, or do we question it? Or do we ask him to file another earth excavation? Or do we do anything else?
I think the selectmen have addressed that by allowing an alteration for any permit.
mhm.
Okay, does
And
anybody,
change of use.
Yes,
and the change of use,
Mhm.
okay?
so the defined pit is no longer.
No, it's, the permit is expired, so no digging can go on there. And, within a year of the permit, ceasing to exist, you're supposed to reclaim it. And
But
it probably hasn't happened.
Since that time, the use has changed and it's become an alteration of terrain with, with no subdivision.
Right.
And just the park as defined,
Right.
so it's outside of our purview.
Yeah, we voted that it wasn't a subdivision.
Correct.
And if we had voted that it was a subdivision,
Yeah, then we would have had to go through all of the regulations. But
we
we don't.
would be taking some jurisdiction or, over it. If we had voted that way, and the vote, that was not the vote. The vote was that it's not a subdivision. Which means it fell out of our purview.
Unless there's evidence that excavation is going on instead of construction.
Right,
Instead of alteration of terrain.
Right.
yes,
And right now, having driven by there numerous times
Yeah.
over the past months, it certainly looks like it's an alteration of
It
terrain.
absolutely does.
I mean, it looks like to me that the intent is what he's following through with.
You can
Building
actually-
the building the
see the
garage, right, I mean,
phases,
you can. It just looks like what he said he's going to
Yeah.
do,
It looks just like the plan.
and he did file a building permit,
Filed a
yes, I
building
saw that.
It looks just like the plan, and you can
Yeah.
see the two phases, how one is
Correct.
ahead of the other.
And by having filing the paperwork for the DRA, his intent is to pay taxes on the material that's taken out of there. That's in excess of what is required for the alteration. So to me, that shows positive intent to follow what his plan is and what he's told the town.
and, you know, this would be the same, no matter who it was, it just happens to be. The three, notice of, to intent to, excavate all, happen to be the same person, but it's nothing specifically related to that one person, it would be the same, no matter who it was.
Correct.
So does anybody have any questions or any other thoughts? Judy wanted us to have that discussion, because they do have a building permit before them. And she wanted to make sure, you saw her email, she wanted to make sure that they were in compliance with us, you know, before building permits were issued. They needed to know how the plan board felt about it. So we've had our discussion, we've done due diligence. And, does anybody want to make the vote, or just let the record stand on its own that the planning board has received these notice of intent to excavate and place them on file, or whatever we do.
We don't have any issue.
They're not,
I think
yeah,
that's sufficient.
that statement,
Stand on its own.
Right,
Yeah.
that statement
the
is
vote is not
sufficient.
required.
No.
No,
No,
No.
no. And from our point of view, we're probably best served by just doing it that way. Noticing that we've received them, had our discussion, and placing them on file, period. Is everybody happy with that?
Yes.
That was all? Okay, thank you. Master Plan Subcommittee,
What-
next meeting.
one more thing on the
Okay.
tax filing list, you did have the 3 Kohler properties, but it was also listed the con property. Can we have that removed? Because that's no longer it, it's,
Right, yes,
they
yes.
haven't filed any paperwork.
Yes, no,
And so we don't need to see that anymore, keep it coming back.
all right. That-
It's, if it's gonna be a pit again, then start at the beginning.
Yeah.
They will be filing for a new permit, but we can put it back on the list when we do that.
Yeah, I mean,
Mhm.
if they were required to file by April 15th for this other paperwork and they haven't.
And they
done-
didn't,
Right.
so-
Right, it.
Yeah.
So,
So we don't have any,
There was no excavation done during that period for the
Right.
file, so.
all right. That's fair. The Master Plan Subcommittee meeting, most of you were here and heard it, that, we're gonna try to get the downtown, businesses together again. That was going to be a focus, a place to start with our efforts, to develop a master plan. Anybody have any other comments to make, or
That's the main thing.
that's the main
Start
thing?
from there and
Yep.
take our next steps in the middle of May.
Alrighty, and hopefully there will be a meeting of that downtown group, if we can get it together by mid-May to just keep things moving. We did develop an earth excavation checklist. I don't know, did everybody see it yet?
No,
No, I didn't see that.
I've got it here. Right here. Remember last meeting? We thought it would be good to do what we had done in the past, keep it short.
mhm.
Okay,
When the permits expire, when the bonds.
okay, so that's excavation details, but that's different from the excavation checklist.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is the, right, this is the checklist of,
That was the detail I was
Yeah.
referring to
Yeah,
earlier.
yeah.
Thank
So,
you,
yes.
we got it,
right?
we
all right.
know what all those dates are. So
Sorry.
the checklist, I'm sorry, that's the,
Yeah, the
And,
checklist was the one that we have a subcommittee.
Yeah,
working
Eva
on.
and I will be at some point meeting too. Because I think we're the two that volunteered for that, right?
Oh, okay,
To,
good, thank you for reminding me.
but, this past month has been busy for me, so I don't have any.
I was away.
Maybe before the next meeting, maybe we can start like an hour before the next
Sounds good.
meeting.
I'm here for next 5 months.
Okay, so-
Going nowhere, so.
Maybe we, the committee, subcommittee we can start talking about it.
Sounds good.
Good, so 4 o'clock on whatever day that is.
Okay.
The date.
4 o'clock afternoon.
Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
Can we get that circulated, Bonnie, by the way?
Oh, yes,
For the meeting?
yes, and we can make copies and make sure they all get it.
It should have been attached. That one.
It was,
Yeah.
Oh,
it
is
was, but not in that format. It was a little bit different format, or
Okay.
didn't
Yeah,
have the
because this
boxes
is
around.
very clear, this, I love it.
That is, we used to have that and look at it every month to remind ourselves if there's somebody we can get after to, get their permit in.
I think probably email it to all of us.
Yeah, that's a very useful tool. We need it.
Yeah,
And you
perfect.
guys are gonna work on the checklist.
Yes, so we'll meet before the next
Yeah.
meeting or something.
Yeah. Yes.
All right, the hazard mitigation update, there was a great meeting and there's a whole bunch of meetings ahead. Basically, boy, what a thorough process. Yes, a
Oh, yeah.
billion
A lot of
questions.
information.
I have a lot of questions, setting priorities as to what our hazards are. Obviously, the top three, one was, of course, flooding. One was, violence, crime, those kinds of issues, people issues, things that might happen. And the third one was, not an earthquake, was it? I've got those papers, but flooding is an obvious one, traffic, the highway. The three things we've got going on here that are potentially hazardous is all the I-93 and the hazardous materials and stuff that might be coming up through. Obviously the flooding, and obviously the people issues, the human issues, the drugs and crime and things of that nature. Does anybody, Kathy or?
They did say, that we were gonna go over all of the list again during the next meeting when there were more people in attendance, so more people can provide their points of
Input,
view
yeah.
in case we wanted to adjust any of where we graded them.
Right.
I was surprised that wildfires weren't higher on the list,
Mhm.
only because they took into account what hadn't happened in the last 3 years. But for a potential problem, because so much of the town is national forest and we're so forested, I was surprised it wasn't higher on the list.
The last serious wildfire we had was the one on the Dover Cliffs in 2017.
Right, but it could.
But
hap-
it could happen,
At any
yes.
time,
Yeah.
and it is one of those things that, you know, you look at the Canadian wildfires, and as our temperatures get warmer and drier and windier. I was surprised it wasn't higher,
And because the impact would be quite significant.
absolutely, it could take out the entire town.
I think, so let's make that point. I mean, I listened in, I intend to again.
Yeah.
I'll
Kathy
I'll
did.
try to get there.
Well,
Just-
let's stress that, because that could be a
Yeah,
a
It was very
real
interesting.
disaster. 94% of us is national
Right.
forest, of course, it could be a real major
Yeah.
catastrophe.
and I think we wanna look again at conflagration as well, because if the buildings downtown were to catch on fire, or, you know,
Right,
if town hall were to catch on fire during town meeting, something like that, the repercussions of something like that would be catastrophic.
And I think all of the people issues, certainly probably should be up the, you know, the drug trafficking, and the crime and things, that you get with growth. I mean, I don't think we should underestimate all of those human, issues.
reading through the documents, it was very, very well done. It was-
Yeah.
But yeah, it was, you know, certainly, scientific. So,
Yeah.
which is kind of nice,
Mhm.
kind of takes the
It was a
personality out
good,
of it,
yeah, it was a good meeting.
yeah, so.
Do
anyway.
they have a date for next meeting?
Yes. Soon. It's May 3rd or
Yeah, it's
something,
the first Wednesday in May.
first Wednesday in May, whatever.
May
that is.
30th on Friday.
May,
First is on Wednesday.
That's probably when it is then.
it's May 1st at 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
And you can either show up, I was the only one that showed up, other people are on the Zoom,
10,
10,
And is it,
It's
where is
here.
it? Here,
here, right here.
got it.
And we just met in the chief's office
Yeah.
because it was only he and I, but,
It'll be on Zoom too, so you can just join on Zoom. if you
Yeah,
want.
Zoom is easy.
and it's an important document. It's very important prior to, prioritizing. And there may be funds available, to address some of these things. It's a good inventory to take. I mean, I was absolutely amazed at how thorough it was. And it doesn't matter whether you assign a 2 or a 3. You know, I looked at the end results at the end, and it matters whether you called it a 3 or a 2. If you underscored or overscored, you could really skew it, quite dramatically. So it's important that we take it seriously and give our opinion. Not only us as town officials, but people, public, members of the public, and the emergency services. And the lady that was running it said she really wants to hear from the Public Works Director. Those that run the sewer plants and the water plants and not only the police, but.
And she mentioned that a couple of times during the meeting too.
Yeah.
Couple of times, we need the highway department. To attend, we need some of the other disciplines in town to attend and get their opinions. All right. We've received a shoreland permit application on the Woodstock, bridge, the whole big, thick, anybody wants to go in there and read it? Right here. And this is for information, we just get it. I mean, obviously, the Conservation Commission, we have the ability to have a comment if we want, but there's the document. There's many workshops and seminars, a lot of them put on by BEA or National Municipal Association or all the various, organizations. You keep getting another notice of one.
The big one is the full day conference on May 11th. So anyone who is really interested in digging into planning board ins and outs should probably consider signing up for that. It is online on Zoom.
That is a very, very good, and you and I went last year.
What is it? I'm sorry, I missed that.
It's the full day planning board information conference from Office of Strategic Initiatives.
It's, it's a workshop held in Concord, if you know, if you get, you're fortunate enough to get a seat in the room if you want one. And 9:30 to 4. And I think you can listen in on Zoom.
I think it's mostly on Zoom.
I think
Yeah,
so.
yeah,
Yeah,
6, 9, 11?
yeah,
And is that, do you need to sign up on that?
yeah. If you don't have the link to sign up, let me know and I'll email it to
I
you.
don't, if you don't mind sending it.
Sure.
And, oh, there were, you've been getting a lot of them, I read them here in the book. But you're free to go to as many of them as you want and can. They're all good information. The next, hazmat meeting after the, first is the 5th, by the way. Most of the conferences and workshops are free, so. Oh, I gave you the, permit bond status report. We have a 6 o'clock informational discussion, we've got to wait for 6 for that. I noted on, when I went on the website, just for your information, the peeling project, there's a notice on the website. If anybody has any comments about their, application for a wetlands permit, you have until, April 25th, to make a comment on any wetland impact on that project, if you're so inclined. I don't think it's not a, project before us, it's not a subdivision or anything, but it's just for information. Yes.
I have a couple of things.
Sure.
One, I'm very curious because I don't know. When we give a waiver for something, or when we give a subdivision approval, are there timelines where if something, let me use a hypothetical, if we give a subdivision approval and nothing happens, how long is that subdivision approval good for? Is it in perpetuity?
Forever. I'm thinking of the great,
Limit in our ordinance.
Pardon me?
We don't have a limit.
I know. and I'm
Gray
thinking-
Hill is
So
still,
I'm thinking about, there could be a case where somebody buys a property next to a property that has one of these subdivision approvals that have been going on, that happened, 20 years ago, that is no longer really valid, but it seems to me that we need to start putting time in our timelines, in our regulation. And I was thinking about this because I was thinking about the cell tower. Because,
Yeah.
when they presented, they were in a rush to start building. They were
After
gonna-
before the
We have
snow.
to do it before October.
Woodstock.
We have to, we have to,
oh,
we
yeah,
have
because
to,
of the
we have
winter.
to.
because of the-
We don't even have a building permit yet, right?
Yeah,
No,
no.
He said they were waiting
Oh.
because of the snow,
Right,
amount of
yeah,
snow they had gotten up there.
yeah, it's no snow. I mean, it's, mud season's over, it's, but it just seems that that's an example of something.
Let's
that
remember that.
we should have timelines on.
Let's remember that.
On every decision we make, there should be some sort of, we need to review it or look at it after such and such.
You have it for gravel. I mean, that's in the
So,
law.
right, so that's been
That's in
a
the
lot.
law.
Okay.
But we have Gray Hill condominiums that was approved 30 years ago. I mean, I might be exaggerating, but 20 or so. And, every once in a while they inquire.
Yeah.
It's now, in the ownership of one of the sons. It was, 2 guys that, came in and got the, no, they're brothers, the Gianci brothers came in and got the subdivision approval. Well, one of the Gianci brothers has died, and it's gone to a bunch of heirs, and the other Gianci brother has one son still alive. So that son once in a while calls and, well, what are we gonna do with this land up there? What can we do with it? And trying to liquidate, the estate, and I mean, if they wanted to come back, they'd have to abide by current regulations. But they have an approval for
So
9 or whatever it is, whatever number it is. They've got on the books an approval.
So that's one of the things. The other thing is more, probably a little bit more sensitive item in that, we have a member that was elected that hasn't been here in a long time. And since I've been here, well, there's only been either 1 or 2 meetings. I was wondering if we could send a polite note to that member, asking if they have any intent of joining us, because we have people that are willing
Right.
to show up on a regular basis, and very polite note, just, are you interested in coming, or are you not? And if you're not, please let us know.
Christine would give us a letter.
I think that because we do.
She would think that was only fair. I mean, we left it the way we left it because she had illnesses herself and other family members and we wanted to give her a chance to get
Yeah,
past that.
I take the
Yeah.
personnel side, I know nothing of this, nor do I need to know
Yeah,
any of that, but it just seems to me that I've been on the board for 1 full calendar year plus a month, I guess, here. And I think she's only been to 1 or 2 meetings in that time. And so it seems to me that, she's only has 1 more year on her term.
right.
And I think it would be the right thing to do for the board, and for the town, just a very polite, very,
Yeah, no, she would not
No
be
pressure.
offended.
just.
She wouldn't be offended by that.
But
She
we
laughed,
have a-
but
we
we
have a
gave her a
problem meeting-
chance.
We have problems meeting quorums, which is the
Right.
reason I joined this board, was to help it make quorums, and that's one of my mental paths.
I was thinking, who's that person?
There you go.
Yeah,
That was the reason why I joined.
Right.
so, she would take it well. So is that what we wanna do? We wanna, suggest that,
Would you like a motion?
sure,
I think we need
Sure.
that motion.
let's make a motion, that we approach,
Just to see if she's still interested.
see. And she may say, oh, thank goodness, I'll
Yeah,
be
it's
back,
possible.
I'll be back, or it might prod her. to come back.
Yeah.
It might prod her to come
Which
back.
would be great.
It's been too easy for her to not come because, we left it wide open that, when she could come back and her medical issues cleared that, don't be hasty and resign right yet, but we've given her plenty of time. She wouldn't be offended.
I mean, and to note, the prior year, prior to me going on board, she was at every meeting.
Yeah,
And so I do recognize that, because I went back and I looked at the
Yeah.
history.
Yeah, she definitely has interest in the board. I don't know, but her interest is in question. It's her ability. to
you know-
serve.
Maybe she would prefer to be an alternate, that way she can show up as her
and we have empty slots. She could be an
time
alternate.
allows.
Right.
Yeah, that's
We
what I'm
would-
saying.
Take her right back as an alternate
Mhm.
in 2 months, if that was the case. All right, we've got a motion.
Second,
Second, any other questions about it? Want to take a vote?
Lee,
Yes.
Catherine.
yes.
Igor,
Yes.
Margaret. Yeah. Bonnie.
Yes. Thank you for bringing that up. I mean, we've been more than kind and.
I have nothing to do with it, it's just,
Yeah.
it's for the board's sake.
Yep. Yes. Very good. Anything else?
That's
on-
it,
on
I'm
your list?
good for right now.
All right,
I'm causing
anything?
enough trouble since today.
No, you're not causing.
Oh, no, one more, you gotta go one more now.
Okay, let me think.
Uh,
I can come up with something.
Three is the number.
I don't know if everybody noted the, other document. The call to construction divine estate, multi-document, that's just for
Doesn't
information.
matter.
That's just for information,
Yep. Doesn't matter.
but we did receive it. We'll just note we received
I
it.
like looking at it.
That's
It was nice to look at it and go by the property. and go, oh,
Yeah.
I see where that's
And
going.
there's more than one copy there because, it took a while for it to print, so I pushed the button about 3 times. And I got about 3 copies. I'm not thinking of anything else offhand. Is anybody?
How about what we just got? This,
That's,
That the 6 o'clock.
that's a 6 o'clock discussion.
Yeah, we got And,
Oh, okay.
and I don't know what our wisdom was to,
Sometimes we take the whole hour.
but we thought we would take the whole hour.
We can see if there's any public participation on any other.
Yes, anybody have public participation on anything other than the ZBA action in Thornton?
Yes, I do. I'm Kristen Grocer of Planning Board of Adjustments. As you know, we voted in to bring in the system with FEMA to be part of their program. We accepted the maps. I would like to talk to the board about considering doing some of the check boxes under the community rating system. So we would get credits. And what it does is it makes, we were talking about flooding and planning, whatever, it makes the town more less susceptible to flood damage. It makes FEMA less susceptible to paying out because you're asking people to, look at their properties and, get flood insurance if you need it, even if you don't have a mortgage, that type of thing. It's not mandated, but it's a question. And everything gets you certain numbers of points, and then people get discounts on their flood insurance. I got a call from a resident who lives down by exit 30, and she's just been mapped in, and she asked about that. So I wanted to bring it forward for your consideration. I'd be more than happy to pull all that information together and provide you some sort of a presentation.
We have talked about this a little bit already in a couple of our meetings leading up to the remapping, and I would love to work with you on that.
Margaret's our point person on that one.
And that was all part of it anyway, to move ourselves up through the ranking. I mean, to make sure we were in the program and did everything we had to do to qualify. And then this, like you said, there's things we can do.
Because we've been
So that
qualified
we
for
can-
a long time. as long
Yes.
as we've been. But I've never heard you guys discuss or, because I really don't ever come to meetings or anything, but it's never been brought to my attention, right? And I've been on the floodplain board for 7 years now. And so I just want to put it out there, like, I'm like the forgotten entity
Yeah.
in Woodstock sometimes.
I just found out that it was possible for us to do better.
We can do a lot better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Because some,
Yeah.
this woman who's mapped in, it's going to be a financial struggle for her to pay her flood insurance. And if we could, work together as the community and get 20% discount, 5% discount, a 30% discount,
right,
that's a big number for people.
it really is, yeah,
So
yeah, we definitely want to do this.
is that something that we should try to work out together and then
Yeah.
present?
Yeah,
Margaret, okay, we'll get together at some point. and-
that sounds great.
Anybody else wanna help out on that?
I can help.
All right, great. Well, it was a lot of work to get recertified and shame on us if we don't, and Igor has talked about it too.
They're highly of the
hard
planning
work,
boards and we do.
and the communities, most of the communities that are working on it haven't gotten themselves too far up the ladder, but it's a worthy goal, and some of the things, it doesn't take money or,
No, that's
Yeah.
right.
it's not like we need to hire some big consultant or something. There's a lot of things we can do.
Like doing a building permit required elevation certificate if they're in a flood zone.
Yeah.
Right,
So easy, right? All you have to do is buy it.
yeah, so and it's one thing for a floodplain insurance to be available to the community, and it's an entirely different thing for it to be affordable. And if we can get it into the range of being affordable, then we should definitely do what we can to make that happen.
Absolutely. Anything else any board member has, or anybody in the audience? Anything you wanna say?
There's a couple of people on this Zoom as well.
Is anybody on Zoom that wants to say something now? Or you're waiting for the 6 o'clock?
What? That next meeting, we hear May 13th at 5 from the planning board, we met at 4. to talk about innovation stuff, to start talking about that work for you, Tom?
Well,
All right,
we'll put it down.
Yeah, our next meeting is
May 13th.
May 13th. So it sounds like your committee's gonna.
Yeah,
get
well,
together.
right, do we need to, get that posted or anything?
Yes,
So I should talk to Judy about
Yeah.
that? All right, actually, I'll drop her a note right now.
yes. Subcommittee's been posted too. Is the master plan committee gonna meet again prior to the next meeting? You think, Margaret?
Probably not prior to the next meeting. It'll
But-
probably be about the same time.
But the goal is to have that business community one before the next meeting.
I don't know if it'll happen before because the second is closed until May second.
Second, yeah, and the meeting's the 13th, so we're like,
So-
be the 10th or something.
Right, if it is before, it'll be just prior to.
Yeah. That would be a good goal, keep it moving along.
We need to also bear in mind that we need time to get notice out.
Right. Where else could we have it? You know,
But we probably won't be able to solve that problem during tonight's meeting,
probably not.
so. Let's set that as a goal to figure it out.
Unless
As
we have,
quickly as possible, so that.
June,
Is it June?
June 6th, yeah.
June sixth, conversations we need to get them.
Yeah,
There is
that's
June 6th.
my.
lesson learned, he moved along faster than we thought.
Irritating today.
By
Yeah.
5:30.
Oh, yeah, I know about
I
them.
didn't know. Anything, anybody want? Today, so we'll just. Recess a little bit.
So Margaret, will you just let me know when you're gonna be working on the flood? Updating flood stuff, because I'd like to, I'm very interested in helping with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, awesome. So I'd like to hear everything, chance to say too. So I think that's so important. Anything we can do to make flood insurance more affordable to people, especially people that have a place that didn't know they were in a floodplain and all of a sudden they are. Added to the map with the new mapping. That would be rough.
Yes. I have a presentation and I know I'm not going until 6, but I wanted to make sure I had share screen privileges. Set up so I can share that. I thought this might be a good time to troubleshoot the
That is a good
technology,
time.
Yeah.
so we didn't keep people waiting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be away.
Should be, I said share screen. Should I try? See what happens?
Go for it.
Yeah.
Alright.
If it starts to melt, we'll let you know.
Only I would move away from the TV.
Yeah. It falls off the-
Just in case it blows up.
I'm not responsible for blowing up any phone. I think because I'm logged in as a participant, I don't have screen sharing permissions.
So one participant can share.
Somebody's
time.
sharing right now.
Multiple participants can share simultaneously.
Nobody's sharing.
And no one's sharing. We are, aren't we?
No, we're just using the monitor.
Oh, because I see the green screen share on the bottom and it's checked off as one at a time.
It's
Yeah, we
either
were
a
just
settings
checking
thing
it
or
first,
it could
but-
be a co-host. Either one would work. So we got 15 minutes to figure it out.
See, it's checked off as host only, there you go.
So much like this.
You should be okay now. Give it a try.
Should I give it another try? Okay. Yay, all right, I think we're cooking.
Good.
Beautiful, okay. Well, that, knock on wood, that went well.
So that.
I'm not seeing it on the screen.
No, I haven't, should I go ahead and start?
Yeah,
sharing
go
it?
ahead,
Sure, go
so we
ahead.
can see if it blows up. Share screen. Yes, Dr. Nolan.
This, I don't even use my computer anymore, it's just this.
Really?
Do that, I'm done,
So it's
I have like 4 computers on my counter right now.
done.
Yeah, bigger window.
Done with computers, like, so.
Because
done.
every, all of my customers have working.
Done with all my customers.
Crazy.
That's what I said. The
The
iPhone and the iPad.
I've got
Here we go.
computers that until my customers said. I don't think this.
Okay.
I'm so done.
I bet you are. I'm pretty done.
I'm done. Hey, you getting,
Done.
water van down your driveway?
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. I have to use my phone because the internet.
So are they installing this week for you?
I don't know, the cable's right at the bottom of the driveway.
But how are they getting?
I'm surprised we have about this amount of time.
They're putting it in, I've been working. It's not me that happened last night.
We'll just call it intermission.
They're gonna try to feed it all through.
Oh my God.
We're taking a.
You pushed it too far.
Now, this isn't a hearing or a separate meeting, it's just a discussion within our regular, planning board, meeting. And so it's not noticed as a separate meeting or a hearing. The town of Woodstock, is an abutter to, action before the ZBA in Thornton, the abutting town of Thornton. And it's a application, presented by the Central New Hampshire Climate Association as agents for the Ayotte Family Revocable Trust. And they had put in to the ZBA a variance request of Article 5, Section A, permitted uses. Apparently under their zoning ordinance in Thornton, a parking lot is not a permitted use on that particular piece of land that is solely within the town of Thornton. So we are abutters, and so we got notice just like all the other abutters got. And there aren't too many abutters. There's the National Forest and us, and that's about it. And so some of the Conservation Commission's members, about 3, went to the hearing, and I went to the hearing. And basically, we were given the opportunity to come back to our town of Woodstock and have a discussion here. That none of us there could say the town of Woodstock thought anything in favor of, opposed to, neutral to, couldn't say a word as to what our opinion was as an abutter, because we couldn't speak for the town because it hadn't been discussed here, and there wasn't any vote on record for me as chair of the planning board. We hadn't discussed it at our board member what we thought, so I couldn't say one way or the other what we thought. Gil Rand was there. He's a selectman and he's on the Conservation Commission. So none of us could say whether we supported this variance or we opposed the variance or neutral. So the town of ZBA in Thornton gave us almost 2 months to discuss it within our town and get back to them or not with whatever our thoughts were. And that's where we stand. It will be discussed again in Thornton on May 23rd. I can't, if they're skipping, the April meeting and going to, isn't it May? About May 23rd, the middle of May. It will be heard again in Thornton. So in order to get a variance, you have to demonstrate, five factors. That it's, let me read them, I wrote them down, the five factors that it's not contrary to the public interest. It's within the spirit of the law, spirit of the ordinance, their ordinance. It's not contrary to public interest, it's in the spirit of their ordinance. Substantial justice will be done. The values of surrounding properties will not be diminished. And no unnecessary hardship. So those are the 5 factors that the town of Thornton has to weigh in on before they grant a variance. They have to consider all 5, not just one, all 5. So obviously, they have before them a proposal for a parking lot, which is not within, a parking lot is not a permitted use within that zone, within their town. The parking lot appears to be primarily for use on the town of Woodstock land, the so-called Merriam property, 111 acres, where people have been informally rock climbing and enjoying our parcel in the town of Woodstock. And so that's in a nutshell. So we were granted this opportunity to have a discussion here to learn more about it. And we have representatives of the applicant here that are here to fill us in, give us more information as to what's being proposed. Now, it's their decision, yes or no, on the variance, but we are just like any other abutter. We can give input.
If it pleases the planning board, can I get the Conservation Commission's view of this?
Sure.
Since we've been talking with the climbing community now for a year and a half. Yay. So we've known about this thought that they've had for quite some time, and so it wasn't new to us. We've been talking about it. As far as, getting the variance is concerned, it's the opinion of the Woodstock Conservation Commission in general. We haven't voted it, but they seem to meet the spirit of the zoning ordinance. As far as the actual parking lot is concerned, that becomes a separate question, right? Like, what are the specifications for the parking lot, and how is it engineered, who's doing this, who's doing that? And that's really on the town of Thornton. I'm sure we'll have some input to it, like we talked about, I think, potential for runoff or such things. Right. And the parking lot really is meant not for Merriam Woods. And we've made that perfectly clear to the climbing community. We don't want it advertised as parking for climbing at Merriam Woods. We want to advertise Triple I Road recreational parking type of thing, right? Sponsored by the climbing community or whatever it is. And it's not for any reason other than, we're still trying to keep like Merriam Woods climbing on the down low, so it doesn't turn into runny rocks, but we don't want to stop it. And it would be great to get some of the cars off the roads. So I just wanted to put that out there for everyone, for our point of view.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm looking at the application that's on the town of Thornton website, and I see the owner's signatures, the AIs, and I see the applicant's agent's signature, and I can't read it. Is the applicant agent here?
The Central New Hampshire climbers, which is
There's a name, like,
yeah,
maybe,
so
even-
the president, Jay Noer, signed it,
okay,
but the wording of that application was created as a, as a board.
but it's, so that,
It's Jay,
so,
it's Jay Noer.
and Jay Noah's not here?
No.
Okay.
No, and Jano wasn't at the, hearing in Thornton either.
Okay,
The chair of the ZBA agreed there was enough people in the room showing interest. And we were
Right.
there, the town of Woodstock was there, but, and so he decided to proceed.
well, the issue that I have is we don't, do we have an AR here, the owners?
No,
Just as an FYI,
Yeah,
Jay Palomino was their broker,
yes,
because the AR's broker,
yeah,
and he was there.
but I'm talking about right now, just for this discussion, so we don't have the petitioner and we don't have the owner, just to make, I want that on the record.
Right.
That those people
And-
are not here, speaking on behalf of this.
and the same was in Thornton. I
Oh,
mean,
was it?
yes,
Okay.
the chair of the ZBA,
Oh, here it is.
decided, okay, there's enough people here, we'll hear what they got to say.
Yep.
But, and so he proceeded, even though
Okay, I just want.
the
to make sure that
applicant
this
was,
is-
even
okay,
though the applicant wasn't there.
Okay,
He entertained everybody, stating their opinions,
gotcha.
that it was in the best interest because there were enough people there to at least talk about it. All right, anybody else in the audience want to say anything before we hear the presentation?
I just, to speak to the point of, we have lunch committees within our group that are working on the whole thing. So when it all got put together, a lot of us who knew more about it went there, and Jay had been working with our attorney and us to fill out the application, but didn't think he's gonna have to be there. So we are Central New Hampshire Climbers Association.
What's your name, please?
I'm Michael Zarnowski.
Is it possible in the zoning board things, sorry, that they could, like, sort of like how Jay Palomino can speak on behind the ARs? Could Jay assign, like, delegate the authority to someone who's local and can go?
So I guess what I kind of thought is I thought we were showing up as CNHCA in representation of them. I didn't know that Jay was specifically in representation of them. Because we're a large organization. I think there's 16 of us or something.
And this isn't a hearing. I mean,
No,
we
I'm
just-
just
this
trying
isn't a
to
hearing.
make sure that I know
Yeah, I'm
who's who in the room.
right. I'm making it more clear that the whole thing happened before, but we were not realizing that he needed to be there specifically. We were there as a
Right.
group and
And you don't own the property though, right? You have a
No.
lease?
no.
Now, there's no owner of the property
See.
in the room.
So, okay, so here's an issue that I have. So we don't have an owner, we don't have a lease, we don't have the
Right.
applicant.
Right,
So, I mean, just kind of, we have some people who are interested, who are members of a group,
Right.
self-identified members of a group, but we don't have anything formal, and I just want to make sure that that's very clear.
yeah, and the chair of the ZBA made
And,
it
if
clear.
there was a lease, is there an intent to buy or anything
Yeah,
like
that
that?
was
There's a purchase.
Okay, do you have that with you?
No.
So,
It's a discussion, and
Right.
that's why we
Okay.
called it.
Just invited
yeah,
to
I'm
the
just trying to make sure that
We
we
asked,
cover all the bases.
yeah, and that's important, and it was important down there, when everyone, nobody objected to the discussion being held
No.
in Thornton, the discussion was held. And we just requested a chance to come back to Woodstock, because it does affect, not only a Woodstock property, I mean, it'd be the same if it belonged to a private citizen. But in this case, it belongs to a public entity, the town of Woodstock. And we as town officials, we can't speak before the town of Woodstock until we hear from some Woodstock people to see if this affects them in any way, positive or negative. And some of the issues raised down there were obviously, they wanted to see a site plan, know how many parking spaces. Questions were asked about, trash and traffic and any impacts on, the law enforcement, or, how many spaces, et cetera, et cetera, and
It's 46.
46 is what they're proposing. And, and the applicant has to appear before Thornton, and Thornton will decide on but we'll entertain. If we have any strong feelings one way or another, might incorporate one of our thoughts into their approval or not. And I mean, it's their application before their board, but they are affording us the opportunity to have a discussion here in our town. And maybe we should, for the record, identify who's here, if everybody wants to say who they are.
Start, I'm Michael Darnowski, and I'm a board member of the CNHCA.
Okay,
I'm Matt Williams with Penny Valley Excavating. I've been working along with the association with their intent of the parking lot and just trying to help them out on with ideas and stuff for what they don't really do every day like I do.
okay.
Chris Vaughn, board member of CNHCA.
Abby Erler, local and climber.
Cody Beard, resident climber.
I'm Kate Miller, Jay's wife. He's home watching our daughter. So. And I'm also a CNHCA.
All right, and we have two members of the Conservation Commission.
Well, I'm Kristen Dozier, Chair of the Conservation Commission.
And Gillian, Selectman.
You're gonna select representative to the Conservation Commission. And a select.
We've afforded this opportunity and we didn't get any Woodstock residents.
These guys are Woodstock
Well, yes.
residents.
Okay, you guys are Woodstock residents and.
Yeah.
Chris is a property owner.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we did get some.
Yeah. Let's see this presentation.
Let's see the presentation.
All right, sounds good. As a segue, I think that the expertise that the Central New Hampshire climbers bring, can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Is, we're all outdoor enthusiasts. We understand a lot about how hikers and climbers think and what can help manage things like use and parking. We're not experts at making parking lots, but we've learned a lot and we are working with people who are experts. So I promise when we resubmit our application, we will be very careful about the signature. And that we have the same person who signs it available. Okay, so what I want to do today is just give some background. I'm not sure how much members of this board are aware of the background of recreation in this area. And I want to be sensitive to the fact that two colleagues I really, really respect, Bill and Kristen, have heard this like thousands of times. I don't want to go over things that people already know, but I do feel like context is somewhat useful to understand why this lot might be worth doing. So would it be useful to hear some of the history of why the parking lot we feel is needed to help be helpful to the abutters and to residents, or do you want me to go straight to the lot with no minimal historical background?
I think it would be good to hear.
I'd like to hear it.
Yeah, hear why and how it would be helpful and useful.
Great. Okay, so what I want to do is bring our attention to the west side of Triple I Road. If you come up 93 and get off that exit, we're looking at the area sort of before the gate that's closed over the season. And if you follow that road all the way down, it brings you to Osceola and then into Waterville, right?
Yep.
So that, so I'm calling that the west side, meaning the side of Triple I by 93. And there's a lot of people who recreate there. You can tell there are skiers, hikers, hunting. Lots of people love to go there and walk their dogs, and it's also a place where rock climbing has been happening. The earliest documented instance we have is 1960s, but it may have happened earlier than that. We don't really know.
Okay, so looking just a little bit more closely at this area, so here's 93 North, and then that yellow band is Triple I Road. The property is kind of interesting. So there's this gate where, that's the Forest Service gate that I'm talking about. And then this white area, north of the road is the Merriam Woods property. Where the climbing areas are only in the southeast corner. Of that
Can we ask questions while you're doing this, or do we have to wait till the end?
I
No,
mean, I'm here all night, so I love to talk.
I think that was.
Is this part of a
Ask questions
brochure?
at your own risk.
It looks like a brochure. Is this a brochure?
No.
No?
No, but I wanted to be a Disney animator when I was a
Yeah,
child,
that's
so
great.
I do a lot of PowerPoints.
Yeah.
So, yeah, wait till you see. I have one slide where I definitely got too much coffee, and you'll probably laugh at me when you see it. So, right, so here's so all these little red dots are little climbing areas. And over here, in this green area, this is National Forest. And I think the important thing to note is just every one of these little red dots is a place where people who love rock climbing might go like every weekend for summer. So each one of those is sort of like a little treasure if you're a rock climber. We don't have official trails, but there are sort of footpaths sort of coming in. Russell Craig is mismarked on the maps. Somebody tried to put it in there with Google like a couple of years back. So the actual location of Russell Craig's is down here. And so those little red dots right in here, those are hundreds and hundreds of little rock climbing routes. And then Thornton, White Mountain Forest Service land is here. Russell Pond is up here. And then Thornton, the town line for Thornton goes right down like that. And then there's some really cool big boulders here where people were pounding pitons in back in the 60s. Hopefully with permission from the AX. All right, so quick history. I just think this is so cool. My inner dork is showing, but this is a 1963 yearbook from Holderness School. And you can see underlined in red the reference to Russell Craig's. Emerson, I mean, some of these people have like, these clearly were like, they're like little young adolescents. They're going out mountaineering in the 1960s, and they went up to Russell Craig. At that time, you saw the use of things like pitons and this radial webbing that stayed in use until around the 80s. And then in the 1990s, you started to see bolting, and this was a trend that came over from Europe. And you can see the technology getting better into the present day. Another thing that's important, I think, is background, is to understand the popularity of rock climbing as a sport, because it has to do with the amount of use. And as Kristen mentioned, this feeling of we don't want to close it, but we don't want to love it to death. And it is a conservation property. The parking lot in question is actually not primarily for Merriam Woods, but designed to spread out the traffic actually past it. And I don't think that's totally understood by everybody who's heard about the lot. But this is a very popular sport, and it is likely to get more popular. So this is a fun picture from the 1970s. These ragamuffins are called the Stone Masters. They're in Yosemite. In the 1970s, so in the 60s, it was more of like a gentleman mountaineering thing. In the 1970s, climbing went really counterculture and was very rebellious. But no longer a death-defying counterculture activity. Rock climbing is now a legally defined type of recreation. RSA 21234 is really important in terms of liability. It actually started in the 60s, and there are a lot of interesting cases, some regarding wound. But the idea is that if someone goes rock climbing on your land and they fall and get hurt, is not your responsibility. And town council, together with Woodstock Conservation Commission, has verified this. So though safety is obviously important and we want to be thoughtful of that, there's not a liability issue associated with this. Modern rock climbing, and this is where we get into the popularity, it's now an Olympic event. So this is the 2020 climbing team. And as as rock climbing has become an Olympic sport, it's also becoming very, very common. The high schools all have climbing teams. Gyms are popping up everywhere. This sport is really becoming a mainstream sport. My personal prediction is probably gonna be a Division I college sport in probably 20, 30 years or so. So, you know, there's no question that those little red dots that we saw on that map are gonna be something that people wanna come explore and a wonderful resource, but also something to protect. All right, so here we are back. So quick notes on 2020. One of the reasons that this got so crowded was due to COVID closures. So Mount Osceola closed, Rumney closed. So this area that was less frequently traveled got a lot of traffic and people started climbing there. People started putting new safety bolts in, replacing old safety bolts, and then posting things on the internet. And that's where we got ourselves into a bit of an exponential growth situation. So big increase in use during COVID, and I know the town saw a lot of that. A lot of it I've heard was really hard. So good news travels fast. It got really popular. And so that's the place where people park. So again, this blue line is the gate, right? And then there's parking like on the side of the road all the way down to 93. And I still don't understand, but we lost Gil. Yeah, I mean, the status of this road is like almost impossible. It's very complex.
Gil's back, you wanna?
Gil's back.
Can you give like a 2-second status
Yeah.
of the road thing, the town?
Yeah, we still, meaning that last part from Adams Farm Road up to the gate,
That's here.
yeah, there's been no progress, no movement at all on that.
So, that's the place where, people who recreate at Merriam Woods, whether it's for hunting, for wandering through, you know, this area is beautiful, beautiful forest with wild varieties of mushrooms, which I don't know anything about and thus don't eat. But everybody who uses this area sort of parks here by this gate, and then also people who want to run, ski, bike, walk their dogs down Tripoli Road, they all park there as well. So, what happened, I'm really big on, well, I'm big on rock climbing, as you've gathered. I'm also really big on plants. So, you know, I just really noticed just in the couple of years that this has been happening, how much impact this area close to the gate is getting, because everyone is hiking in that direction. Everyone's hiking in here. So climbers, ironically, though we like to go up, we don't like to walk flat at all. We like to get out of the car and do minimal walking before we sweat and exhaust ourselves going straight up. Truth, right? Very strange. But climbers in general don't want to hike that much. Again, I'm stereotyping, big picture, but climbers typically will get out of their car and they'll stop at the first area and the next area and the next area. And my hope and the hope of Central New Hampshire climbing and a lot of folks who have also joined up as Friends of Merriam Woods is to say, could we get climbers and people hiking and recreating in this area more, so that the Merriam Woods, the conservation land, is not getting so much impact. So Labor Day 2022, that was when we first met the Woodstock Conservation Commission, and they were like, hey, what's going on? And we're like, I know, it's crazy. And then we got to know each other. So, summary and brief, after we first received letters from the town of Woodstock, voicing their concern, specifically surrounding the safety bolts that climbers use, but I think also just around the usage of the land as a whole, and this idea that the Woodstock Conservation Commission manages this land, and a lot of the climbing and recreating, the folks who were doing that didn't really realize that it was called Merriam Woods and didn't know about their management. So in 2020, we did a voluntary closure. In general, the community was great about not going there, sat down, had a lot of great talks. I just want to emphasize the importance of shared concerns. The concerns voiced by the Woodstock Conservation Commission were shared by the majority of the climbing community and people recreating there. The real point where there's maybe has been some disagreement is about the use of safety bolts, which is a really specialized kind of climbing equipment. But when it comes to conservation and caring for the land, we're very like-minded. and want the same things.
Oh, and for clarification, it wasn't the presence of them per se. In the beginning, there was everything, we just wanted to get, whatever. But now it's become more about, additional, right? So adding to it is something that the Conservation Commission, Jim Cheeseborough with me, have specific questions about and concerns.
Absolutely.
So we agree with the old times, especially after.
Much debate. It's a hard these are thoughtful, difficult questions. I could talk a lot about it, but I didn't put any bullet slides in here because I will talk for hours about bullets if you let me. So 2023 warrant article 33 sort of this question of the safety bolts, and we determined that no, even though the safety bolts are permanent and maybe not ideal they're not perfect, they're better than people falling and getting hurt. So we decided to keep those. Since then, in 2023, 2024, Woodstock Conservation Commission has been working on a management plan, and all of the local climbing organizations are sort of, hopeful that we can continue to have sort of a positive relationship with the WCC and with the town moving forward. So again, our goals here with a lot is managing usage, solve problems in constructive ways, support responsible conservation-minded recreation. So though it may be hard to believe, I'm gonna try to convince you that a parking lot, I think, and a lot of us think, is probably the best option we've got to actually preserve and make sure that the area doesn't get overused. That's the thought anyway. So, all right, so here we go. We have some incredible opportunities for public benefit, but also recognizing that this is fragile land, this is conservation land. We don't want to love it to death. We don't want to hurt it. So how can we work together to manage this responsibly? So what I wanted to show you, the purpose of this slide, I thought that was fun, sky's the limit, like climbing. Just to see, like, here's that Triple I Road area, but you can see how there's a lot more areas sort of if you keep going down that road. And also if you swing down into Waterville, there's more areas here. There's also a lot of potential for more climbing up in this area. So again, as Kristen said, there's the question of what's there and the question of more, and then all of those are things right now, we're just working on this parking lot. But you can see that there's just a lot of rock all over the place. And not all of this cluster is Miriam Wood. Some of it is Forest Service land. That's Forest Service land. Okay. Conservation, parking concerns, overuse concerns, we talked about that. So parking.
Can I ask a question? How
Yeah,
would putting a parking lot in help with overuse concerns? Because you just touched on that, but
Yeah.
well, I see if you have a parking lot.
Yeah.
It's clearly, the parking lot is after the gate, right?
Yeah,
So it's summer only?
yes. And I
Okay.
think the question of when the gates closed is a whole nother question,
Okay,
but it would be summer only.
okay.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about that. That's an excellent question. So I've grown up at Rumney Rocks, and Kristen mentioned Rumney Rocks. And has anybody in here ever seen it? Yeah. So when I first met Rumney, there was a little dirt parking lot and another little dirt parking lot. And I remember hiking in, and there were narrow trails, and there were porcupines, there were porcupines walking around. I saw a bobcat there. Rumney became very, it's amazing. It became very popular, and the parking got bigger. So people talk about Rumney got so crowded, but maybe what they don't know is that the parking has increased maybe by a factor of 5. They expanded the first lot, they paved the second lot, added more, and then in a good way, they created more parking further down at the Northwest Territories to pull some of the traffic. But the big change is that across the street, the American Alpine Club bought the campground there, and now there is unlimited parking there. And the impact on the trails, on the cliffs, it's still a beautiful spot, but the fact that there is no limit to parking, you can see it, and I've seen it, right? So I think everybody here loves the way this area is not like giant paved highways of trails, right? Nobody wants it to be massive. So the thing is with climbers is if the lot's full, they will keep driving as a rule. And we have a lot of volunteers who are willing to put flyers on windshields and message and say, if the lot's full, keep driving. So by defining the size of the lot, you can define the maximum number of users. Yeah.
Isn't that a little contradictory to what, you initially said with people parking along the sides of the road? Wouldn't they still park along the sides of the road?
So I think that it's interesting, and it's a good question. It kind of goes down to like, how much do we trust people? When we did the voluntary closure, we had almost perfect adherence. The climbing community is pretty tight knit, and there's a lot of websites, resources, and ways to get that word out and to say, look, if you don't limit yourself to the lot, we could lose access to climb here.
Well, so that's part of my thought process is you wouldn't, once you have the parking lot, I mean, if there's no control for parking on the side of the road because it's a Forest Service
It's gonna be
road.
an aggregate.
Yeah, there's no way for any enforcement from us. One, it's in the town of Thornton. Two, the road is owned by the Forest Service, so,
So
have you been on Tripoli Road in the summertime?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I don't have to say anything more.
So
I think that like some way that you could partially counter that is because of where they're putting the parking lot, it's closer to those more inland spaces that are.
But they
in-
just go up to Russell Pond and park along up
No,
and
not the
down.
Russell Pond one, there were, if you go back to the site with
I've
the.
got a better slide coming up. I
Okay.
think that's the question, right?
Yeah,
So
so
the,
how you're gonna push the people to the White Mountains?
Yeah.
As opposed to Marion
In
Woods.
addition to the Marion
yeah,
Woods.
Okay.
clicking, I
Yep.
think it's gonna answer your question. We'll see. Okay, so, what we're proposing, climbing community hopes to remedy concerns, support responsible use by fundraising for a parking area. Okay. Fundraise to purchase a triangular 5-acre plot of land from the Ayotte family. We have a purchase and sales. The Ayottes are in favor of this, spoke in favor of it at the Thornton zoning meeting.
They were there,
The representative, Jay Palomino. was
or
there.
Jay was there, all right.
Yeah, the land is located in between Merriam Woods climbing areas and White Mountain National Forest cliffs. That's kind of the most important thing.
Mhm.
The goal is to preserve this land as woodland forest with the beautiful big boulders allowing seasonal access for the public. Add a gravel parking area to establish designated parking for the climbing areas and footpaths on the west side of Tripoli Road. So again, as Kristen said, this isn't for Merriam Woods, it's for all of those climbing areas and hoping to encourage traffic to go the other direction.
Yeah.
I think this is important, and I'm glad Kristen is here because, you know, I do know that one of the things that's important to the WCC is that, you know, that not sort of really publicizing Merriam Woods as a climbing area. So I just want to be clear for everybody that the use of the name Merriam Woods, as well as descriptions of rock climbing areas, electronic print, online sources, will be essential to CNHCA fundraising efforts, education about conservation-minded climbing, and ability to manage the lot.
So you are.
But the Merriam Woods,
You are.
that's a focal point of that area for rock
It's-
climbing. It's a focal point,
It's
a main
a focal
point.
Yes, it
Yes.
is. Yes, it is a main, and if we're going to, we're a nonprofit organization, we're trying to raise money, none of us have this kind of money sitting around. We can't raise money for it without talking about it. And we also can't tell people not to park on the road and to stay in the parking lot unless we talk about it. So, I mean, in my opinion, the genie's out of the bottle and people know about this area. So, I think limiting parking is the way that we can keep it open for public recreation, which is, I think, important to the town and to the Merriam family when they deeded it, but not allowed too many. We can
I don't
control.
think you're limiting parking, I think you're expanding parking.
Well,
Yeah.
Let me finish.
can I
Yeah, go ahead.
say a few things? First of all, as far as what Kate said, don't underestimate the power of public, or what is it called, crowd media, what is it?
Crowdfunding,
Social media.
yeah, social
With
media.
these climbing group, I mean, you would, like, when we asked them if they would pause climbing in Merriam Woods, it was like a valve got shut off. So I think if the word gets out, there's a new parking lot, please use that preferentially, etc. I think word will get out. The second thing I want to bring up is that, as Bill was saying, this whole thing about that piece of road between, Avery Farm and the gate. If that becomes town land, we have control over it. Once it's town road.
Big, yeah.
Right.
Big, yeah.
right?
that's-
I've dealt with the federal government, so have you.
It's a big, right, but regardless, I mean, I think that area is only gonna get more trodden, and if people have a place closer to the climbing that they wanna do. And I think too, and correct me if I'm wrong, well, a lot of the climbers are just recreational, they see something and they go to the route. A lot of you guys wanna explore, right? And there's, they're asking you to not set your routes in Marion Woods probably, but there's a whole.
Yeah, I think it could expand the climbing to
Yeah.
the right side of the lot versus just where Merriam Woods is, which is where they would hit first if they were coming up before the gate.
Part of my memory was the animated, conversation that happened at the town meeting. And it was a very animated town meeting. And there were concerns, not only about parking, but about how the Merriam Woods deed was written.
Yep.
And the paths, and that they're not supposed to have trails.
Yep.
It's a
And
misunderstanding though.
that's
No,
in the
but we
deed,
can-
that's not
no,
a
no, no,
misunderstanding.
No, I don't mean that. I mean, the thought that climbers made all of these trails. I
Well, the
think-
trails with the pitons going up, that's a trail, and that was part of the conversation.
So the lawyers have gotten involved, the
Yeah.
Conservation Commission, like Kate indicated, has been developing a management plan. We've talked specifically with the councils many times about the interpretation of the deed. Jim just recently sent a whole vocabulary list, please define these lots, et cetera. So climbing and having those goals is not against the deeds. But-
Is the select board on board with that? Is the board of selectmen on board with the Conservation Commission, regarding the trails or not trails?
Oh, for sure,
Those are all of our meetings. and-
But I'm wondering,
Yeah,
if the
no.
board. as a
we are, and
whole.
actually, we're not opposed to the parking lot.
Mhm.
What we are opposed to is overuse of the property.
Yeah.
So,
But let's be
Yeah,
Um,
let's,
also cognizant of the fact that it's not just the climbing,
Yeah.
it's
Mhm.
hunting, it's
Yeah.
birds, peregrine falcon, 3 nests at the top of Russell Craig that can't be disturbed.
right,
There's also the logging and agriculture industry that's gonna be in there.
right.
It's involved.
Yeah.
That's why it's taken us a year and a half to get to this point, so,
let me,
we're very concerned
Let me just
about.
back up, one more part of the animated conversation that was at town meeting was over human refuse. And,
right.
and, if for me to show any enthusiasm over, a parking lot, it would have to have, some sort of, sanitary facilities. Because that's a huge problem, and I know that the neighbors were very, very concerned about that. And that should be part of the plan.
I think we're really open to talking about, the whole point of this, believe me, I don't wake up every morning and dream of making parking lots. The whole point of this is to try to work together and, I really have respect for every single person. A lot of people have put a lot of time in really looking for solutions, and I don't think all the answers are worked out. I think that a lot of it is we're really trying to do something big, and it's hard, and it's we're trying to solve the problems, right?
I think what I'm thinking on master plan too is how are we gonna drive more recreation to the area?
Yeah,
And what these guys are trying to do as well, from this perspective, is to bring more recreation to the area. And I understand we're trying to
Right.
teeter-totter the balance to make sure that the land stays pristine
right.
while also allowing people to enjoy
But-
what we have
And
here.
the issue is, if we don't have all of our Ts crossed and Is
Agreed.
dotted, it's in
Agreed.
Thornton, we have no control over it.
So yes,
Right.
and here's,
We
the
also
other
are
thing is that
partners.
all that they are trying to do right now is get the zoning board to approve the variance, right?
Right.
The design of the parking lot, whether or not there's facilities, that's Thornton's problem.
Well,
Well, that's
it's
fair.
ours because it's the human refuse on the Merriam Woods.
Well,
Yeah.
that's a different question though, because people aren't gonna park in this parking lot and go
Yeah.
all the way down to Merriam Woods to poop. And the other thing is,
Yeah.
the big complaints then happened during COVID, where I could walk to the gas tank from my house, on one side of the back,
Yeah.
and it was human refuge.
Absolutely, it was
Everywhere.
everywhere when you went.
So
Higher
you have to
rates.
remember.
Yeah,
the
Bear
time
Lake, I know, I
period
get
when
it.
you expect it to happen.
Yeah, but it's there, and that was part of the conversation at town meeting,
It
so.
was, and I also, a lot of people have thoughts, and I do have more slides to get through,
Yep.
like, there's been a lot of progress and growth, also just in understanding each other. And I think a lot of the feelings and the language of climbing, like, there's honest miscommunication. Like, is it a trail, is it a route, like, what are we talking about here? So I really think that we've made a lot of progress on it, and I wanna be. I mean, those are really interesting things to talk about. I'd be happy to talk more about them. I just wanna also make sure that we get you the information about the lot itself.
So
So,
please feel free to come to a conservation
Yeah.
commission meeting if you guys wanna talk about more details.
I think my concern is this, I think the parking lot will increase, the use and access to our 111 acre conservation parcel. They're gonna park all along the road, they're gonna,
no,
plus in the parking lot, I doubt highly, that's my only
Can
concern.
we finish the slide and then
Yes.
we have questions at
And-
the end?
And the second half of it, that's, if this is a wonderful resource and people are enjoying it, and it's a wonderful recreational activity, and that's something we want to encourage in Woodstock, is that I wish the parking lot was a little further down the road, not literally down the road, a little further into the future, when perhaps the Conservation Commission management plan was more established, and perhaps some of the issues addressed, like tromping off everywhere, and the trash and the human impacts. And I wish this was 5 years from now, having the Conservation Commission involved a little bit longer in developing what we perceive is a good. We have a responsibility to those that gave the piece of land to the town to manage it according to their,
totally agree.
or to what is in that conservation easement. And I wish I knew more about what the plan and how to address, getting people to walk where they should and not tromp through the floral and fauna and all the other elements. I wish I saw the plan. I wish there was a document,
It's coming.
a document that.
I think we
that
should
was
see the
plan.
rest
Yeah,
and,
so.
and then hear
Right.
some more from the person who the Conservation
Yeah.
Commission that has been working
Yep.
with these folks for well over a year now, you said, right? So.
Yes,
Yeah, we need
let's
to
hit it.
see what the plan is.
So the trash and the poop were here, if you see where my cursor is,
where they were parking.
where the parking was. And remember that climbers, helped to pick up trash, like climbers love the land. We're not like drunk campers coming in a caravan. So climbers will show up to help pick up the trash, and did. There's not been trash anywhere over here, only amongst the parking areas, and it was not only climbers parking there. Once climbers were parking there, then people came off 93, and then people started parking there, and people were camping there, and people were shuttling cars back and forth. So I just want to make sure that, for one, climbers, there's been miscommunication about the tramping all over the place. That was really a misunderstanding about terminology, and I think I'd be happy to talk more about it. But climbers want to keep it clean. They want to limit the impact. I swear to you, I'm not making that up. So let me keep going. Talk about how this might work. Okay, here's this triangle lot where we have the purchase and sales. So it's as close as we can get to the Forest Service land. And I gotta tell you, just because I love me a good story. I was out and I was gonna go climbing, actually over here at Y Craig, and it rained. And I was super sad because it was raining and I was gonna go climbing. And we turned around and hiked out, and we ran into these people, and we were just talking, and it turned out to be the AIs. And we just ended up talking to them, and we're like, hey, we've heard some people have been parked around the edges of your property, what's going on? And it just happened in this really like serendipitous way. So this is the parcel of the AOT's land where we have the purchase and sales that they're behind selling, so we can try to help remedy this. So the idea is that we tell climbers to park there. And again, there are the occasional jerks, but in general, this is a community of people that has shown up and is dedicated to keeping access open. We can't stop everybody, we can't control everything, but it's better than doing nothing. Also, along the edges here, it's pretty ditchy. I mean, you could maybe tuck a car in here or there, but you know, it's not great for parking, and we have volunteers, many, like over a dozen, who would be happy to walk around and put flyers on windshields and say, don't park here, you're jeopardizing access. So from there, do you see how the trails would spread? Instead of that big arrow that was over here, there would be access to climbing here. As Kristen said, climbers love to explore. They could go up this way, we go over this way. We're not gonna trample a million places. We can't make trails, but we can pay attention to footpaths. The proliferation of quote trails was actually just climbers posting things on social media, and those were actually just climbing challenges that people thought were trails, so that really was a misunderstanding.
What's the difference between a trail and a footpath?
That's a great question. I've learned about this from the Forest Service, so my understanding is that a trail has to be like, actually, it's like, it's marked, it's created, it's maintained.
Okay.
The footpaths, so even from the beginning, you know, I was like, I mean, all of my friends here know this, I was like marking, you know, like putting like sticks and stuff, like, don't step there, those are trilliums, those are Dutchman's britches. Like, we tried to sort of not just walk all over the place and be really thoughtful. We were thoughtful about.
Like a game path, it's basically.
Okay,
Yeah.
I gotcha.
And actually, the porcupines really like it. They've been going up and down. Okay, so the idea would be to tell climbers, park there if the lots will keep driving. And again, there is parking up here. There are more clips over here. And yeah, I mean, I do think a couple people might still park at the gate, like they're not perfect, but at least it wouldn't be so many. And at least we would have more of a read on it, I think.
Do you have control over the parking lot, or is it just come as one, anyone can park?
That's a good question.
If you had tax from your club or something?
We can't take money for it because that would totally make the variance impossible.
Right.
But I do think it would be thoughtful and possible to maybe have stickers, maybe have a couple of guys who are really good at tech. I talked about doing like QR codes and like heat maps, and people have all kinds of ideas. So I mean,
Maybe this could be a way for you to get donations as well, and that's like.
I mean,
think
we're
about your
gonna
club.
need them because we gotta pay for it. But yeah, so I mean, I think that it definitely, I hope this shows that we're not just trying to increase parking, like we have no wish to do that. Like, we just want to be able to climb there and take care of it. We don't want it to get trampled or hurt. We don't want anything bad to happen, and we certainly don't want hard feelings among the neighbors. So we really would work very hard to try to encourage all of the climbers to use the lot and to keep climbing if it was full. The other thing is, maybe someday we could, you know, this is that idea that Woodstock maybe be able to make this a class 5 road, which would close it to parking and I think allow an ordinance for signage, if I understand correctly. So if that happens someday, that would also help make sure that it wasn't just establishing, but really, like, we will go put flyers on people's windshields and say, don't park here. Will it be perfect? No, but it'll be better. It's better than it is. All right, so close up plans. Everyone's gonna be so excited. All right, Mike Zarnowski, artist extraordinaire, together with Pemmy Baker Excavating. I'm going to and Chris too. Yes, this is the drawing that we have as a close up. There's Triple I Road. This is the only stream we could find with a culvert that goes like that. I've got topographical lines coming up. Very steep slope here. Merriam Woods is over here. White Mountain National Forest is here. And you can see the boulders there and the trails and how the trails could go out. I do think it would be really useful to maybe make the trail over this way a little bit bigger, you know, maybe get some signage, something like that. But really encourage people to go adventuring this way. Pemmy Valley Excavating has not officially gotten like a contract or payment from us, but have been incredibly helpful in educating us about what might or might not be possible in this area. So this is our drawing of parking spaces right now. We're looking at 120 by 120, not to scale. 46 seems to be the number that makes the most sense, given how many routes there are, and if it's too small, it might not work. So the idea is to make it big enough that it limits parking but is still useful. Yes,
Gravel paved,
gravel.
designated parking spots, so they're like, whatever the legal parkings, I mean, I know nothing about parking lots.
9 by 18 is pretty.
Is that the standard, like, you know, not the skinny ones that you can't park in, but the ones,
One foot short of standard.
so they're not they're below standard,
They're 1 foot short of standard.
that's below
length
standard, yeah.
And standard width.
So if people show up,
Standing
large
up.
pickup trucks, they want it.
1 foot of every one.
It's
My
it's
truck won't fit in the parking lot
18
at
feet.
Walmart,
I know.
so I think that's what.
So
Are
if
you
you have
gonna-
a person
are you
who
gonna be
drives a
marking
GMC,
these
Denali
parking
here
spots?
probably will not be able to park there.
This
Right.
is gravel. Are you gonna be marking these parking spots?
That's a good
I
question.
don't believe so. I think we'd end up with like logs or telephone poles or a thing down the center to give people the idea to park the nose into the center, and then the outside would be the edge of the gravel, so.
It's a nice diagram, but if it's not marked, people are not gonna park according to this diagram.
Would that be?
No, yeah.
Don't it really harms either.
And that will actually lower the parking.
It could,
So like
put
people,
on a kiosk.
if people don't park like that, then it'll lower the number of cars.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so the less likely people are, the less visitors
A
actually.
foot per, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see interesting configurations, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But it's still, if you have 46 parking spaces, that 2 people a car, sometimes 3,
Yeah.
you're looking over 100 people on a good
Yeah.
day.
And
So
there are
it's blocked
hundreds
the
of-
parking lot. and-
Hundreds and
anyway.
hundreds of rock climbs.
So my answer to that is how many people carpool tonight?
You're married.
So 46 cars, I'm guessing you're going to have maybe 23 of those carpool.
Well, if I
So
look
if you have
at-
23 people carpool, then there's 46 people and then another 23.
I would disagree,
So-
because if we go hiking, we usually go 3, 4 of us in the car, go park and go hiking, because people usually hike and.
This is kind of irrelevant because we already had 40-something cars parking on
Yeah.
Triple I Road by the.
Which
beach.
they'll
So,
continue to be.
maybe, so everybody's just making these assumptions.
Right, anecdotal,
about things, and
right.
Let's just let Kate.
Yeah.
continue
Well-
her discussion.
Let's keep. rolling.
First thing you learn about hiking and climbing is you don't hike and climb alone. So,
True, and my understanding from the zoning meeting is that it's like, this is a really tricky thing to navigate because people sort of want to know the end product. I mean, we don't even have a variance yet. So, I mean, we have to get a variance, we have to get so
Yeah.
one of the things they mentioned is that they wanted a number, we gave them a number. When we went to the zoning meeting, we said, we're looking for input before we do the number. They're like, we want a number, and then there's still more steps where they review the number, so. I mean, I think that ballpark,
Yeah.
this seems best, given our analysis of the number of routes there are and our studies of other climbing areas and other comparable areas.
Mhm.
But I mean, I don't think 12 spaces, give or take, is the question, like, right now, I think it's like the idea of it, right? Like, do we want the
I
idea
agree
of
with
it?
that.
And because we're, really, there's a lot of room we've got a lot of room to go here, we got a lot, okay, impact, let's talk about that. We really designed this to have minimal environmental and visual impact. The parking area will be located on the flattest area to minimize both cost and cutbacks. So it's really quite flat and then it goes up a steep hill. A long driveway locates the lot back in the trees, making it harder and impossible to see for the road. Visually, that seems very important for the nature of that area. It's so pretty. Leave no trace, carry in, carry out ethics will be encouraged and overnight camping will not be permitted.
Will Thornton be enforcing that?
That's one of the things that Thornton wants us to talk about. And how that would work, and that's gonna be key when we resubmit the variance, we have to talk about that and work on that. But it would be the landowners, like, I mean, it's gonna be our problem.
Right,
And
but
Thornton's
that's, it
problem.
would also be the town of Florence problem because.
That's
they-
right.
I mean,
And they may
that's a
not give
long,
us a
that's a long way,
variance.
that's a long way to go for the police to get up there.
Understood, yeah.
What type of signage is gonna be put up in there?
I think that's something we would talk with Kristen about and with the WCC, and the idea would be the fact that there can be signage, I think will be helpful. I mean, outdoor recreation, that's what people do, they go to the kiosk, so, you know, I think we can have signage there and can look at what does everybody think would be best to start? If it doesn't work, we can change it, we can improve based on what we see. Gravel surface to minimize runoff, certified wetland scientists to inform drainage design. Jennifer Reardon is coming up, next weekend on the 21st. She's a certified wetland scientist to look at this. Our understanding based on another wetland scientist and Penny Baker Excavating is that it's not a wetland, but we're not experts, so we have a certified scientist coming to verify that.
That's a good idea.
Boulders will remain where they are. And ephemeral plants, ecosystem, flora and fauna will be preserved to the best of our ability. We really don't want it to, we want to preserve its beauty. Okay, topographical lines. So here you can see how it gets steeper near the top of that point. There's actually some cliffs up there too. And the parking lot is in that flattest area. After purchasing the land, CNHCA, assuming we can purchase the land, if knock on wood that happens, we would complete a full planning survey with a licensed surveyor. This is a sketch of the topographical lines, and Mike worked really hard to make it as accurate as possible. Again, cutback's minimal, as that's the flattest area of the land. Permeable gravel surface will minimize runoff. Neither the driveway nor the lot crosses any streams or culverts. We think it's not on a wetland or a buffer zone, but again, we have a certified wetland scientist coming next Sunday to confirm that, and I would be happy to, I'm meeting with her, and I'd be happy to email WCC and any other contacts to let you know what officially they say. I mean, if this is a wetland, this is a very different discussion. But we've had quite a few people who seem like they know what they're doing, say it's not, but again, I'll believe it when we get the scientists out there. What does it mean to build a parking area? Lessens impact on any single cliff area because of its central location. Climbers can spread out and visit all of the areas instead of overusing the areas closest to the highway, which in this case is Merriam Woodstock Conservation Property. It establishes designated parking for rock climbers and hikers, facilitates messaging and management by signage, such as peregrine closures. Climbers love peregrines, except for a couple of oddballs who, you know, don't love them, but the very vast majority of climbers love peregrines. And we work very closely with the Audubon Society and actually have, throughout the history of climbing at Merriam Woods, honored peregrine closures and posted them. So just having a place where we can just post that and be like, it's closed for peregrines, that would be so useful. The online stuff is great, but you know, it's great to have just a sign too. And control the volume of users if the lot is full, keep driving. Yeah.
How far away do people come when they come to Merriam Woods? Where are you all coming from?
Yeah, there's a lot of the people who climb there during the week are local, and there's a very strong community of local climbers, Campton, Thornton, Woodstock, you know, the central New Hampshire area, like love this place. Over the weekend, you know, we will see people coming, you know, from other areas.
Your group, where's the majority of your members? Where are they
New
from?
Hampshire, this area.
Whereabouts? This area, like Woodstock?
Campton, Woodstock, Thornton, yeah, that's the majority. There's some in, I think, Lincoln,
No, that's good, thank you.
yeah. But I think that, you know, the day when the parking was really bad, that was Labor Day weekend, and Rumney was having a climbers festival, so that was the time we got the 48 cars, like, that was, you know, the worst it got. And I think this is really important. I mean, I'm a teacher and I have a 9-year-old daughter. I'm wrapping up my discussion, so I'll tell you, it was one of the proudest moments of my life. She wrote her essay on why she loves nature. I did not like put her up to it at all, but I just believe that you know, if we want kids to love and learn how to care for nature, having access to these places is special. And I think about Woodstock and Thornton, and we're smaller towns. We don't have enough, we don't have football teams and soccer teams, but you know, this is a gem. This is a gem, and the ability to look at this as something that, you know, is preserved for generations, to me, has a lot of meaning. And a lot of local residents are very passionate about it, love it very much. Some people have moved to this area due to this.
Absolutely.
And these are people who care, you know, not people who are gonna come up and throw their trash and poop and God knows what else, but people who wanna love this place and will treasure it. Challenges, we need a variance. We can't do anything without that. We have 3 stakeholders in the sense of the Forest Service, Thornton, and the Woodstock Conservation Commission. Finding something that everybody will get behind, and fundraising is gonna be a challenge that we have to tackle. So last we've got just my let's work together plea, you know, which you're welcome to read. Yeah, I think we've touched upon a lot of the things. I would wanna stop here and just listen for questions, let other people speak.
Okay, thank you.
If I may just, do a couple of points. As far as the trash is concerned, I think you might want to talk to Mr. Sillingham and his wife, who have taken it upon themselves to go up after every weekend,
Yeah,
clean up that 2/10 of a mile of road.
Yeah.
Everybody parks out there.
yeah,
And to Bonnie's, concerns, it may be 3 years down the road, I mean, 4 years down the road, there's a lot of planning left to do, there's a lot of financing left to do. There's a lot of things going on, we fully intend to be done with that management plan. I think we're 75% maybe through it, and that'll be soon, and if we end up needing to amend it in some places, we'll have time to do that, I believe. So we need to, take a wait and see approach and see how fast this is all gonna develop.
Thank you. Well, that, I know, I just said it, that is one of my concerns. I wish we saw, you know, the Conservation Commission's management plan. And I'm hoping that some of the issues that we're concerned about are in it and addressed.
So, well, and that's something, but it would be great if you came to a conservation commission meeting and gave us, the planning board or whoever, your thoughts of what should be in the neighborhood plan, because we haven't heard nothing from you guys at all about this until tonight. So I'm just saying, if you have specific concerns about Merriam Woods that you would like addressed in the neighborhood plan, please share it with the conservation commission. It has nothing to do with the project.
I have a question for the group. Your purchase and sales, does it have do you have a timeline on it? Does it have an ending date? What's the ending date?
It was, Jay Palomino agreed on the AX, we have to extend it when we were at the zoning planning board meeting, and really helpfully was like, we should have discussion about this. It's like, absolutely, we should have discussion about this. So the AX, just what Jay Palomino said is that the AX are behind the idea of this. They've been extremely patient. And they were willing to extend the deadline on the purchase and sales until at least after that. And I don't actually know off the top of my head what the extension is, but we're one of the many things.
I'm curious, what is the purchase price? What dollar figures are you talking?
I don't actually know that number off the top of my head.
And really, we
It
don't.
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I just wanna get an idea if it's a realistic.
Not the public record before.
It's not.
So, but
They don't have to
realistic.
the reason for my question about the extension was because I agree with Bonnie,
Yeah.
as rare as it is sometimes.
That's
That,
why we have a good board here. We really
know,
do have.
you know,
all
I know that you're
kinds of
you're only at the point of a variance in
Right.
Thornton right now. And, but we have such limited, control. And the only control that we have is through the town of Thornton ZBA, right now as an abutter. Okay, that's the only standing we have. And once that's gone, we have no standing. And like Bonnie said, you know, it would be nice if the Merriam Woods management plan was in place. And without that, we have nothing. We as a community, we have nothing. And it would be nice if the purchase and sales was somewhat open-ended, so you all could work with the Conservation Commission and get all the ducks in a row. I'm not opposed to a parking lot. What I'm opposed to is that there's so many anecdotal answers and nothing,
Yeah.
there's, we don't know things. And I mean, I've done rock climbing.
Yeah.
My name's Lee Freeman, I've done rock climbing in
Good.
Minnesota. And yeah, and I love it. It's great. And I live up in the middle of the woods because I love being up in the middle of the woods. And so I get it. I absolutely get it. And I'm asking the hard questions because I want this to be there for my grandkids.
Yeah, we
Who,
totally appreciate that.
and so
Just clarify
That's
something.
important.
The management plan is not a magic pill.
no,
I don't know what y'all
it
think.
provides guidance. We have no guidance right now.
So we'll provide guidance, but the guidance does not include parking. Because it's not our footprint property, right?
But it can be part of the management plan.
Yeah,
Yes, absolutely. It can be part of the management plan. What happens with your abutting properties? Certainly can.
So I just wanna say that, Kate and I have been going to the Conservation Commission meetings and, yeah, things have gone really, been going really well and we're totally committed to working with them, so. Part of coming here was, I know Bonnie brought up her concerns and they were like, how much time do you need? So we were like, we'll take as much time as Woodstock needs, and that's sort of been our position the whole time. We've been working with them, we're here answering any of your questions, yeah, happy to answer the hard questions. We want, we really do want the same thing. We want a partnership with the town where, as the Central New Hampshire Climbers Association, this is a project is a Thornton, but as far as Marion Woods and the management and recreation there, we're committed to being there for the long term. They're not rock climbers, so we've been working with them to kind of get their heads wrapped around. Yeah. So, but what I'm saying is, yeah, we're committed to being there, not for the parking lot project, not for Thornton, but with the town of Woodstock, with the Conservation
And
Commission.
I absolutely believe you.
Yeah.
In 10 years, though, you may not be there, but I believe you. Okay, and that's the problem is that we need to be able to find this for 10 years or 20 years from now.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm wrestling with.
Well, one thing that, I don't know if this is known, but, what is done a lot is local climbing organizations, which can be 501c3s. Which Central New Hampshire Climbing is a 501c3, so. What happens is people do get burnout and tired, right? But the organization, moves forward and, elects new board members and keeps going, so. The idea of the local climbing organization is to partner with land managers. So like the Rumney Climbers Association works with the Forest Service for the management of Rumney. Their design is a lot bigger, a lot more about bringing in, different than what we would wish, right? But the local climbing organization can exist, and we could even form one that's purpose is to find us as lessening the burden of governance. So that it could keep going, because I think that's an excellent point. There's a time when I'm not gonna wanna walk around and put up flyers, and people are gonna move on, and it's and then what, right? That's a really important question, and I think it's an excellent question. Yeah,
How long have you been a 501c3?
gosh, I don't know,
It came about when we started working on this, so it's been.
yeah.
So, the enthusiasm, I've been on boards,
I know.
right? So we've been on 501c3 boards, right? Different ones.
It's a labor of love.
Right,
Yeah,
and your energy,
Deep love.
your energy level has to stay high, and there is a burnout factor.
Sure.
You
And
know,
we're also-
especially when you are the ones who have started the organization, okay? And
100%.
so,
So what's the path forward to get what everybody wants, to have our master plan be adhered to and getting more recreation here, which these folks are trying to do, in addition to protecting Marion Woods, which is a valid concern, and working with the Conservation Commission so that we can move it together, because we need to have a solution, because I think it's a great project. I think that having access to a beautiful space is important. And I also think it's important to make sure that the land is protected.
Yeah, I don't think anybody is opposed to the activity or recreational use of, Marion Woods and.
I like where the
Nobody's-
parking lot is positioned to push people in two directions, because right now, when you go up there, cause I go up there, everyone's quite crammed in the front, and everyone does go right to those first ones, where if you push people past that, there's more options, and if there's more options, and maybe it's a matter of making, like you were saying, the trails are like the ones in the White Mountains are very visible as well. So like, I just wanna figure out what the step is here, so everybody can move forward.
Yeah, so for today, hearing what I've heard, I need to digest it.
Yeah.
I don't think I could, on behalf of the town of Woodstock, say to the town of Thornton, we have no concerns.
Right.
Okay, and so I think we have concerns.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't say that without digesting it. And to go to, you know, the conservation committee meetings, you know, I'm already on 2 boards, you know, here, and it's a lot of time, and it's a commitment, but you came here to present and you did a great job. And I'm not opposed to the parking lot. We need to make sure that
Really, we
we've got
totally understand, that's why.
all our Ts are crossed, all our Is are dotted.
I mean, it could be like, the
And-
next step could be to have a meeting.
Right, and I think that the cart is somewhat in front of the horse here.
Yeah, and that's my concern. And one thing that came up at the Thornton meeting is this is a private parking lot. This is not owned by the town of Woodstock or Thornton. It's a private parking lot, so
And it's not a
the
trailhead.
town
One
has,
boundary, national forest.
neither town has any jurisdiction over it.
Once it's an entity, yeah.
And once it's a parking lot, it's a private parking lot. It's not regulated by the town of Thornton, and not very easy for them to regulate it, or why would they want to all the way up here? No town, either Woodstock or Thornton, are going to police it and.
You would have
tickets
to
on
adopt
it
some
and-
sort of policy to your board
Well, not only that, but that's the reason why I brought up the question, or asked the question of funds,
that flows
of
down.
funding. What's it costing you? Where do you get your funds from? Are you gonna have funds to maintain it and keep it going in the future? I've, like Lee, I've been on many a 501c3 board, and I'll tell you, you start out like gangbusters. You get your initial funding, and then all of a sudden it peters because funding is just.
And how are you going to, and that came up at the Thornton meeting, is how in the world are you going to prevent it from turning into overflow parking or overnight parking with campers? I mean, how are you going to keep it
Police it.
to that intended use, get the cars off the road and into this lot to go hike up Merriam Woods? There's no way you're going to assure that happens. And it won't be too long, probably, before extra people will go up to Russell Pond camping, and, well, this is a good place to ditch one of our extra vehicles. You know,
Well, there's people, there are ways to do that, you know, you could have hours for the parking lot and it closes at a certain time and one of y'all has to go out there and put a freaking string across. it.
Yeah, you lost the
Something to
chain.
that, right? But as far as next steps are concerned, if you guys really think of the management plan for Marion Woods, would help you make decisions. The next meeting, which is, I don't know, whatever it is in the board, let's see. Yeah. The next meeting is May the 6th, 5 p.m. I would like y'all, I'm inviting you to have a working session,
What time?
5 p.m.
5 p.m.
Yep. A working session on this part of the management plan, particularly as it relates to parking and neighboring properties, so that we understand what you all see. Because I don't know how you would incorporate that.
Where
What
do
do I-
you have your meeting?
Like I just don't know. that.
thank you. Yeah, I think you can hear us that we have concerns. We would have to go down to Thornton and say, they have some concerns. Will
So
need to be addressed,
here's,
you know?
so something that I just want to make sure is really clear to all of you, like, we absolutely understand there are questions, there are concerns. I mean, this is the first time you've thought about this, and we've had, you know, all these meetings and all these get-togethers and have been asking these questions. I just wanna point out that that if you go to Thornton and express concern, right, and then the variance doesn't happen, that's, you know, that can happen, right? Like, that's okay, right? I just am pointing out that, again, it's not our burning desire to create a parking lot in this world, right? Like, it is our burning desire though to help create access to recreation, to preserve access. And all the questions that you're asking are asked at every climbing area, every day with local climbing. I really think just take some time to just digest it. Because no, we don't have every single future iteration figured out, because right now we have to get a variance and get the loan and then go from there. Like, no, we don't have like the polish, like we're not there with the sandpaper and the steel wool polishing the statue. Like right now we're carving this out of raw cloth. So, I mean, if it's something we want to do, I really think that we need the backing of Woodstock in order for Thornton to grant the variance. So I would just say to be aware that your feedback to Thornton is going to matter deeply. My personal feeling, and I don't know, but my feeling is that they're not gonna move forward with it if they don't have Woodstock's blessing. And nor should they, right? You're in a butter that's a conservation easement, like they care a lot about what you have to say. So, you know, I would just hate to see the best possible option we have get shot down just because we haven't figured out the details.
And we don't, that isn't what we wanna do. And Thornton has the added, responsibility to go down to those 5 lists, 5 reasons. You gotta convince, never mind,
I know.
convince us our concerns are gonna be addressed. You gotta go down to that list of 5.
Right now, like I said before, you know, on behalf of the town of Woodstock, the people of the town of Woodstock, I have too many concerns to be supportive of it without knowing more. And so I would kick the can down the road until we learn more about what your plans are to answer the questions.
So do you wanna give us the specific?
No, I can't right now. I have to digest it.
Oh, so maybe,
I
we
mean,
have another
really,
meeting, right?
I have to think about this some more because this is the first that we've done this. So I don't have a list for you because I just heard you.
Yeah, I totally get it. I get it. And partly,
The interest of keeping it moving because you all have that Zoom meeting at the end of May. If you can get thoughts together by the 6th Conservation Commission meeting, I think that would be a really good time to.
Yeah, I'm not, I'll look at my calendar to see, but we do have a planning board meeting on May
On
13th.
the 13th is our next meeting.
So there is another meeting coming up.
How many
I'll try to
members
get
do we
my
have
head
to
around
do?
some stuff.
for sure, yeah, anything we can do to help
Yeah.
answer questions, I'm totally happy to be, totally happy to do that. So I think maybe what would be a great action step is to understand, like, of course, you're gonna have a gazillion questions, and those are important questions for us to hear, like, we need to prepare for these details as well. I'm not saying the details aren't important, they are, but I also wanna like, not throw out the baby with the bathwater, like, I wanna just keep making progress and answering questions, so maybe we could get a list of questions or concerns before the May 6th WCC meeting, so that we could work on them together with the WCC. Is that possible?
No, because our next meeting's the 13th, so there's no way for us to have any kind of a list. We don't meet again, there's no way.
It would have been nice if we had seen this in the winter,
Well,
a little bit
I've
ahead.
emailed the town many times offering to present, just so
Oh.
everybody's aware.
How many members do you have?
So it depends what you're talking about. If you're concerned about the long-term viability of local climbing organizations, like the Rumney Climbers Association, the Access Fund, like, this is not.
You're
this is-
501c3. How
this
many members do you
current-
have?
Well, voting members.
Right now, and the Friends of
So
Marion
you
Woods. has
belong to
over
a national
200.
organization. You're part of a national group.
We are affiliated with a national group.
That's how you got your 501c3. That's all I need to
No,
know.
no, we applied for a 501c3 and then we became affiliated with a national group to help fund it.
What was your membership when you applied for the 501c3?
12.
12 people.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm just thinking out loud.
Question as a resident. 'cause I was
Yes,
confused coming
please.
From this,
Yeah,
like,
um,
we get that you guys are like have concerns, but we don't have a list to like help target some of those concerns
Mhm.
leaving this, so it's like we're leaving this without. Just how we came in.
If you're
Really
listening, if you're
frustrating as a
listening to
voting-
the conversation, you have the same information we have.
It's frustrating as a voting resident to sit here and listen to our elected officials say that they can't take action on something that matters.
Is this
Well,
been an issue for over a year now?
They got an hour to absorb it.
yeah,
Right.
Don't jump to conclusions
Yeah.
after an hour worth of information.
It
Yeah.
takes time because we're looking at all of Woodstock, not just you.
I
If
understand
you
that,
residents of
but you're
Woodstock-
saying that you can't even provide a list
But
tomorrow or next weekend
No.
That's
that.
correct.
that's correct.
There's a
So-
certain procedure that we need
Because we
to
have to
follow.
quorum.
We have to,
Make
so let's
decisions.
hear, are there other thoughts, out in the audience? Anybody else wants to say something? I'm just wondering, does it do the project any harm or, can it be delayed a year or, I mean, does it have to be done right now? Can you buy the land and, oh, well, you might have to resell it, but give us time to
I'm not
Be-
speaking from
be-
their association, just from my own experience. When areas that become popular, usually people like regret not getting started on it earlier because of the impact on the environment. So I think it would be unwise to not address the issue quicker than it is to just keep kicking the can down the road and because people are still gonna be out there. It's
Right, like, there's a
happening now.
pertinent problem. The reason for the urgency is that there's a time sensitive issue that we're trying to fix.
So I mean, it might be a year before it gets built anyway, by the
Right.
time. I mean, it's gonna take a long time, and even the 46 cars, I have to say, it's what we would like to see, but it's probably not what we're gonna get right off the bat. We're gonna be working at this for a long time, but I can say like, yeah, it's gonna take a while. It's not gonna happen right away, but also our plan, as CNHCA, as far as I know it right now, is to show up for our next variance meeting with as much information and whoever shows up with whatever opinions, and that is our plan currently, is to show up at it's like a month and a half now that I think we have. We'll be happy to come back to the next meeting here and answer any more concerns. As Kristen said, you can come to the WCC meetings and they'll answer any concerns you have or put any concerns you have into the management plan, so.
So I know
doesn't-
Kristen was saying that she spent a lot of time with this group as well as the lead of the Conservation Commission. So I think that there might be information that she has that hasn't been communicated that could ease some of our concerns right here, just because we've just had this 1 hour. And I mean, she's the expert in that area, so I'd like to know more about what kind of impact studies that you've done and what your personal feelings are about it, more so than just the little bit that you've spoken. So I'd be interested in hearing that and showing up on the 6th.
I just
Yeah,
wanted to say thank you for coming out here and giving us
Absolutely,
all
yes.
of this information. It's clear that a lot of thought and a lot of heart has gone into the proposal. And I can see from your faces that you're sitting there feeling a little discouraged right now. And I want to tell you, don't feel discouraged. It's a process and it's gonna take us some time to get you the answers you want, but answers will be forthcoming.
Thank you.
So please don't be discouraged.
Conservation Commission meetings like that. Now is the time.
Yeah, I think, we just need to express some of our concerns and give a few things answered. I don't think, we're not trying to kill this project, or we're not negative. We're just trying to do our job and do due diligence.
Yes.
It's a piece of town property. within the town of Woodstock, and we have to do our job and look out for the town of Woodstock and all of its residents.
And we don't wanna be stuck with a property we can't manage. I mean, your questions are useful. I think knowing what the doubts and questions are, and I understand there's time to adjust, time to let us know what those questions are, that will help us improve our own, making sure we know what we're getting into, right? So we get it 100%, and are very grateful for the discussion. It's, I think just, trying to get everything to line up with purchase and sales and all the different people, and it's a challenging project, and thank you for the reassurance and your questions and helping us identify places where we can strengthen things.
Well, I'm glad you used the word challenging project, so now you guys understand that that's a challenging project and it's for us challenging to.
Oh, we know it's challenging.
So it's not gonna be done in an hour.
No, and we're actually really pretty high functioning, like capable too, and not our first nonprofits, not our first rodeos. Like, I helped write the climbing management plan at Rumney. Like, I mean, we're not, I think you're asking all the right questions. They're 100%. So please keep asking them, and we're good at this, I guess. And dedicated to it.
And passionate about it.
Yes.
That's
Great.
And as many of us as can, I'll be there on the sixth.
Yeah.
And as many of us that can be there and participate in discussions, and between now and then, we can think of a few of our individual, might go on the sixth and not be able to talk, like a unanimous vote, but just throw out some things that are on our mind.
That would be so helpful.
And,
So helpful. Yeah.
and we will do that, and we can have it on the agenda on the 13th again. I think the meeting in Thornton is,
23rd, you said, right?
23rd, I think. Did I have to write?
23rd this month.
May.
Was it May?
May.
I put it in the calendar.
Yeah.
I think, let me find it. I don't know. Did we move it to June? I don't think so. We'll find that date. I don't seem to have it here. Do you? If I look on my, look at the calendar.
May 20, no, actually, May 16th is showing.
May
this.
23rd, I'm showing.
Yeah, May 23rd, okay.
6:30, May 23rd is.
I'm showing 6 o'clock, May 23rd, but whatever.
Yeah.
Same thing.
May 23rd, is when the next meeting is, and, if we're not all there yet, we can always ask for a continuance or whatever, or more time to work on it if we need it. Doesn't have to be, go there, and Woodstock says it has concerns, and boom, you're done, you get a denial,
Right.
We just say we're working through our own
We're
things with
working
the.
through our own things.
But we may have an answer by then.
And
Yeah,
we might-
exactly.
Is the planning board answering on behalf of the town or on behalf of the planning board?
We always work on behalf of the town.
But behalf of the town,
I can speak on behalf of the town, the select board can speak on behalf of the town, and I think we all have a vested interest.
right?
So I just want that kind of.
Well, an ideal situation would be the Board of Selectmen at one of their meetings vote, however they want to vote, and us vote, however we want to vote, as another town board, with our list of concerns. The selectmen can have them, the conservation can have them, and see what you got. But we're elected officials of Woodstock. We cannot, we need to vote and present a Woodstock majority view. And when I asked before, how many from Woodstock, we did not get, which was interesting, people that don't rock climb, people that, we didn't hear from them, which you take note of. You take note of that of course, we just called it a discussional thing. We're not having a hearing or anything. But, we didn't get any input from, other segments of the residency of Woodstock. We certainly got a positive perspective, but we didn't hear from other segments, which speaks volumes itself. That speaks volumes itself. So, let us, do a little bit of soul searching and thinking and come up with our list and get back together. And thank you for coming, and I hope you're not going away thinking, oh, boy. We're
I think we just need to.
raining on your.
I need to digest it.
We're not, we need to digest it.
Thank you very much. I'm so grateful to have the opportunity for this discussion. It was very fruitful, very helpful. And if we can understand those specific concerns, I think it will help inform our process. So thank you. This has been really great.
Thank you. Anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? I've never heard anybody say no, they didn't want to adjourn. I've never gotten no on that vote.
Well, no discussion with emotions.
So I guess that was number 3. I guess that was number 3.
Oh, the chickens are put away.
Yeah.